Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut to getting up to speed on, well, the really important topics. And today we are diving into something pretty intense happening right now. Seoul's sweltering summer, double high-pressure heat wave. We've got an article here that really breaks down this extreme weather. It's quite something. Okay, let's unpack this, our goal. To really get a grip on the specific weather stuff causing this heat, figure out the immediate impacts, what's coming next, and importantly, touch on some related warnings you should probably know about.
Absolutely. You really should. And what hits you first is just how severe it got so fast. On July 24th, they issued a heat wave warning across all of Seoul. People were calling it boiling pot weather. And the Korea Meteorological Administration, they came up with this analogy, which I think is perfect. They said it's like covering oneself with 2 layers of blankets in summer and turning on a heater.
Wow.
Yeah. Tells you immediately, this isn't your average summer heat.
2 layers of blankets and a heater in summer. Okay, yeah, that paints a picture, a very uncomfortable one. So my first thought is, what on earth is causing that? Meteorologically speaking, it sounds, well, complicated, more than just high pressure.
It absolutely is more complex. The core reason, it boils down to having 2 separate high-pressure systems sitting right over the Korean peninsula at the same time. It's this pretty unusual atmospheric setup, like a double lid.
2, okay, that does sound unusual. Do they normally stack up like that, or is this specific layering the key to why it's so bad?
That's a really good point. It is the layering that's key here. So you've got the North Pacific High, which is fairly standard, sits around 5 kilometers up. It's naturally hot, very humid. But then, and this is the crucial part, you have the Tibetan High positioned right on top of it. And that one's hot but dry. Having them stacked like this, that's what's really driving the extremity.
Right, one top of the other, like layers in an oven. So how do they, interact to make it so much hotter? Are they amplifying each other somehow?
Precisely. Yeah, amplifying is a good word. They basically work together to trap heat incredibly effectively. Think of it like, putting 2 heavy lids on a pot that's already simmering. Any heat rising from the ground just hits this double barrier and can't escape into the upper atmosphere. It's sealed in.
Sealed in, okay.
Yeah, so this double layer trap is what makes it, well, pretty unprecedented. It creates this really persistent, intense heat dome. That analogy from the KMA, 2 blankets and a heater, it really nails that heat trapping mechanism.
Yeah.
And just to add another layer, literally there's also high pressure down near the surface.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And that gives us the clear skies, no clouds, strong sunshine just beaming down, which, heats up the ground even more, adding to the heat being trapped below.
Okay, that paints a very clear, very hot picture, a multi-layered atmospheric pressure cooker over Seoul. So with this setup, what are the actual temperatures people are feeling, and what's the outlook for the next few days?
Well, the numbers are pretty stark. On the 24th, daytime highs across the country were already hitting 32 to 36 degrees Celsius. But, and this is important, it's not just the number on the thermometer. That humidity trapped under the blanket makes the feels like temperature much worse.
Right.
We're talking feels like 35 Celsius in places like inland Gyeonggi, the Gangwon, East Coast, southern mountains there, Cheongnam, southern regions. Even other areas, it feels like around 33, which is still very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah, 36 is bad enough, but feeling like 38 because it's so humid, that's a different beast entirely. Anyone who's lived through a humid summer gets that. What about Seoul itself? The warning seemed especially urgent there.
Yeah, Seoul looks like it's in for a really rough time. The forecast for Friday, July 25th was predicting 37 degrees.
37.
And then Saturday, the 26th, potentially hitting 38 Celsius.
Wow, 38 in Seoul, that's really up there. Is there like a local reason why Seoul gets hit harder? Something about its location west of the mountains, maybe?
Yes, absolutely. There's a specific regional factor. It involves the southerly winds hitting the Baekdu-daegan Mountains. So this moist air gets pushed up the mountains. It cools, drops its moisture. Okay. Then when it comes down the leeward side, where Seoul is, the air compresses. And compressed air heats up fast. It's a classic phone wind effect. And it really boosts the temperature, especially in areas west of those mountains like Seoul.
Ah, the phone effect, right.
And this isn't just a quick blast. The projections show temperatures staying above average until at least early August. So this is sticking around.
Okay, so we've got the mechanics, the intense heat, the duration, but what does this actually mean for people trying to live their lives in Seoul? Beyond just being hot, what other hazards pop up?
That's the crucial next step, yeah. Because it's not just the heat. There are associated dangers, and some are actually made worse by these conditions. Take ozone, for example. Levels are expected to hit bad pretty much nationwide, except for a couple of spots like Gangwon, Yeongdong, and Jeju. Now, we know ozone forms when sunlight hits pollutants, right?
Right. Bad air plus sun.
Exactly. But these extreme temperatures, they speed up that chemical reaction. They basically supercharge the ozone production.
Oh, okay. So the heat makes the air quality worse.
Significantly worse, yeah. Which is a major health warning, especially in a packed city like Seoul. If you have respiratory issues or if you're elderly, these bad ozone levels are a serious immediate risk. Staying indoors isn't just advice, it's really necessary.
That's a dangerous feedback loop. Heat makes the ozone worse, which makes being outside even riskier. What about the coasts? You'd think maybe the sea would help, but are there risks there too?
Unfortunately, yeah, the coasts aren't escaping this either. They need to be really careful. We're expecting higher sea levels and strong swells. This is partly due to lunar gravity, tides, but the current conditions can amplify the effects. This started kicking in around the night of the 24th for Jeju, and then the 25th for the Janum and Gyeongnam coasts. And the warning is serious waves could actually come over coastal roads and seawalls, so being near the water could be hazardous.
Wow, okay.
And add to that, sea fog. It's forecast for most sea areas. Visibility could drop below 200 meters in some island areas. That's another danger, especially for boats or anyone near the shore, particularly at night.
It's just remarkable how all of these different things line up. The two high-pressure systems, the winds over the mountains hitting Seoul just right, and then these knock-on effects like the ozone and the coastal issues. It really is a whole environmental picture unfolding.
Exactly. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, what we're really seeing isn't just, a hot summer. It's a very specific, quite complex weather event. It's driven by this unusual interaction of those two high-pressure systems, and the impacts ripple out way beyond just the temperature reading. It really shows how atmospheric dynamics create these intense, localized conditions.
Truly fascinating and quite alarming.
It really is. And maybe that leaves us and you listening with something to think about. Given that we can understand these atmospheric pressures, these effects, sometimes days in advance, what steps could we as individuals or maybe as communities actually take, especially in a huge, dense city like Seoul? How could we better prepare or mitigate the worst impacts when we know this kind of predictable severe weather is heading our way?